Today, a warning to Russia from America's top diplomat.
If Russia acts recklessly or aggressively, as it did with the SolarWinds cyber intrusion, as it did with interference in our elections, as it did with what it's done to Mr. Navalny, then we will respond.
That was U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to the BBC. He followed up that pledge while in Ukraine, as that country looks to defend itself from the regional bully Russia. Let's bring in retired General David Petraeus, who served as CIA director and as commander of U.S. and NATO forces in Afghanistan. General, thanks for joining us. Today, Secretary Blinken issued that warning to Russia in Russia's own backyard, Ukraine. What kind of response would be appropriate from the U.S. if Russia were to stage another one of these cyber attacks or actual attacks against Ukraine?
Well, I think it would largely be an additional set of sanctions. There could be legal charges as well. There could be additional provision of security assistance to Ukraine. And with this administration in particular, it would certainly be joined by allies and partners. That has been a hallmark of the early foreign policy in many respects. I applaud that. I think it's very wise to have the power of many. And I think that's what you would see take place. Now, let's keep in mind that what Vladimir Putin really fears most here, though, is a successful Ukraine. And so a lot of this intimidation or whatever is going on with the massing of forces, some of which have been withdrawn, but many of which are still in place, certainly undoubtedly to scare off investors at the very least, and certainly to make life more difficult for the government in Ukraine, which is trying to pursue reforms, trying to achieve success economically and democratically, and Russia very much fears that happening. Putin doesn't want an example of what right looks like right on his border.
And right now, right off Ukraine's coast, Russia claims that they're just doing naval exercises in the Sea of Azov, but CNN's Matthew Chance was riding along with the Ukrainian Coastal Patrol in that area, and the Ukrainian Navy says very clearly Russia's been harassing their boats in recent weeks. Do you think the U.S. should get actively involved in the tension between these two countries?
Well, I think that the overarching big idea is to be firm, not provocative. And I think that's really what Secretary of State Blinken was trying to do, to issue a firm, not provocative warning, to ensure that Russia knows that we are focused very much on what it is that they are doing. And again, so far, Russia has not pushed the envelope further than that. They have a long history of activity in the Sea of Azov and the Kerch Strait, which gives access to it. You may recall they actually took a Ukrainian boat hostage with its crew some years ago. And you'll see some NATO ships in the sea there as well. Again, the key here is to ensure that Russia is keenly aware that there would be serious penalties if there is further action, and if Russia indeed pushes the envelope either in Crimea or in the Donbass.